Hey there, everybody. Welcome to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast. This is Melanie Headley. I'm back from vacation. I'm here with Thérèse Hakoun. Thérèse is the executive director of ToLabor, which is an international doula training and certifying program. Hi.
Hey, Melanie. It's so nice to have you back. We had Sarah, I think you already know that, with us last week. But
yes, I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was really nice, and it would have been great. We'll have to do a 3
I know,
one time.
Sarah.
Yeah, I almost
you,
said
Sarah.
3 something, but I should. Okay, so.
Right off the bat.
Yes. How was your vacation?
It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
We had moments of quiet.
Well, it was funny because what we talked about was that we had seen your photos on Facebook of your journey, and everybody looked like that. I mean, Sarah was like, everybody looks like they're having a great time. And I, being who I am, I said, yeah, but it's kind of like the Christmas letter where people only write the good things, you know. And I said, I'm sure there are a lot of other things going on. But Sarah did mention, she said, Melanie's really good, though, also of posting those things, too, when all the crap is going down.
Yeah. Like everyone decided to, I thought it was a great idea to get the kids little things in the car to do to keep them occupied, and hair chalk was one idea.
I've never heard of hair chalk.
Yeah, it's chalk that you can dye your hair different colors, and it washes out super easily, and the girls can spend hours with the stuff in the back seat. So my youngest little boy fell asleep, and he woke up with red and purple and green and blue.
And how did he feel?
Hair. Well, he loved it because everyone thought it was hilarious, and so he responded well. But it was like, oh my God, just going into restaurants and, you know, visiting friends and family. And this is our son.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was great. And I do, you know, everyone, it's funny coming back into town. Everyone's like, oh, we saw your pictures and saw your posts, and it felt like we were on the vacation with you. And that part is nice, but I really do all of this documenting because I make these little books that you can get off of Instagram.
Right.
They're called chat books. It's an app. And so you can create these books because no one has real pictures anymore.
I know, isn't it crazy? Now it's all photo books.
Right. And so it's nice to actually have a tangible, and it's this little, like, I don't know, 5 by 5 inch book that you can get.
Nice.
And you just put it out on your coffee table or whatever.
And do you have to have posted your pictures on Instagram for that specific one?
Yeah, and it has a little blurb you wrote about it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, that's good. Well, good. Yeah, I think also when I see everybody posting things, I think that's what they're doing. I think they're creating the long-term memory, like a journal. But I didn't realize that you could also put it on into a actual personal book that you could keep for your family. Nice. That's nice. Well,
and
good.
I love the messages I get from you because Thérèse is always like, how are you really?
I know.
I hope you're relaxing.
It's so much of being a mom, though. It's like,
because you know.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 4 kids. I had the 6. I totally get. And your kids are all still at that kind of crazy age that you have to keep an eye on them, even though some of them are getting a little bit older. You still have to keep an eye on them.
Yes, you do.
Know? So,
yes, you do.
Well, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be back. Yeah. It's good to see you. So today, we just want to bring up a couple of things. If you like what you're listening to, there are a few things that you can do to help us continue to bring you this podcast. So number 1, this podcast costs some money to create and produce, and just to be here costs us some money and, you know, some effort for sure. So it would be great if you could donate. And donate $1. I mean, even $1 would make a difference for us because
more
there are
is
a lot
good
of you.
too.
More.
Yeah, there are a lot. There is. Yeah. It's outstanding how many people are listening to this podcast, and we're really proud of that. Yeah,
and we love bringing this to you. We love doing it. We love your questions and having you on and interviewing people of interest to you. And so we want to hear more from you, but we also would really appreciate any help you want to give us. So to find that place to donate, you go onto our website,
ToLabor.com.
go onto the homepage, and on the left-hand side, on all of the options that you see, scroll down to the very last one, and it says donate. And you can just click that button, and it'll lead you to a different page where you can give us some money. Or you can scroll a little bit past that donate where our picture for the podcast pops up, and that says donate to the podcast. So either one of those. And then if you're listening through iTunes, please subscribe. So that way you can get the entire feed and you can hear all of the older episodes too. And it'll let you know when the new episode is up every week. And then rate us. Give us a really good rating.
Yeah. Because you know what it is? And we've talked about this at other times on the podcast. We get really wonderful feedback from people. Send us emails or take a workshop because they've been listening to the podcast and really like it. And we love hearing that and don't want you to stop telling us that. But take it a step further and write it on the iTunes review section. And we ask that so that other people will be able to find us easier.
Yeah, it just makes us more visible.
Yes, it certainly does. And I'm just going to be really forthright with the donate as well. If every time you listen to the podcast, you did just say donate $1 or X amount of dollars, each time that would just help us, continue to feel comfortable and able. I mean, we want to keep doing this. We don't see an end point to it, but it would just be really nice to have that extra financial support. So, I hear we were talking about how This American Life and, the zillion of other podcasts, and everybody, there's a cost behind it, and everybody knows that. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening. Stay with us. Welcome back to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast. We are going to talk today about the doula's role in supporting the single parent.
Yeah, and this was prompted by a question that we got that from a listener that has a specific question around a special situation. So I'm going to just kind of read the question and then we'll go from there to answer. And what she is telling us is that she's working with a soon-to-be single mom for the first time. There's no partner involved. However, her mother, the grandmother-to-be, will be there for the delivery. They haven't met yet for their first prenatal, but in the interview, the pregnant mom shared that they have a pretty tense relationship, the mom and the grandmother-to-be, and this particular person still lives at home with her parents. The baby will also be born with a disability, which is another part of this topic, I guess, as well, or a separate topic. So there's a lot going on. And she was looking for how to approach the prenatal visit and birth. And this is what she said. In my experience, the partner is an integral part of the team and someone who can speak for the mama if she's unable. Here, the client's mother is more of a worried observer, her impression. I feel the obligation to support my client, but want to be able to keep peace if there's disagreement or any situation to diffuse with her mother. And so, I think that I just want to address right from the beginning that you are right. You have an obligation to your client. That is your first and foremost part of this situation.
Okay, I just have a question in here.
Okay.
So to be clear, so this doula has not yet met the mother of her client.
Right. And
from what her client has told her, her mother is a little anxious about
she must be.
This.
Well, she says her mother is more of a worried observer, and that's the doula's impression,
right,
based on something that the client said, but that the client shared they have a pretty tense relationship.
Okay.
So is that clear?
Yep, that's clear.
Okay. So I think and I've talked about this on other podcasts as well, I think that the main thing you want to do in this circumstance and in all circumstances is to, I hope I can articulate this well, this young woman, single or not, is going to become a parent, and she needs to become a parent. And I've discussed this in this way in the birth circles I do, and in this podcast and in workshops, that when you are your parent's child, you will always be your parent's child. But once you become pregnant, you stop. That is not your primary role any longer. Your primary role is to be a parent. And so this is something as a doula that in that first prenatal visit, I would be talking about that very clearly.
Exactly.
To my client in front of the mother, the grandmother. I'm just going to call her the grandmother. In front of the grandmother, who's going to be the support person, and very agreeable, like looking over to that grandmother and saying, you know how that is. You know, you went through this, I'm sure, as well, when you were pregnant with her or whoever you were pregnant with first, that you had to learn how that you were now going to be the parent. And then I would look back at the client and say, you know, so this is, I'm going to be really and look again back at the parent, the grandmother, and say, you know, we are going to be working with you to support you and what your choices are. And then I would address the grandmother again, and I would say, you know, I think the role that you will play such a huge part on is helping your daughter be the best parent that she can be. And part of the way we do this in the birth process also is helping someone learn what their options and choices are, help them come to a place of understanding their strength, and so that they can make choices not based on what other people want, not what we think would be best for her, but that works best for what she believes is going to make her strong. And we want that. And I said I was talking to the grandmother, but I'm talking to both of them.
Yeah.
And saying to the mom to be, you know, so we're going to support your decisions because this is about becoming a parent. And then, you know, let them talk about what they're feeling. Say, so what do you think? What are, you know, I would look at the mom at that point and say, so what do you feel about the upcoming labor? You know, what are your worries, your concerns? What are the things you want to talk about? And give that, and you might want to clarify that we're going to talk one-on-one, like, let's listen to her just talk for the moment.
Turns.
Yeah, take turns, just to avoid interruptions. And then give the grandmother-to-be opportunity also to speak to her worries and her concerns, so that they
just as you would with the partner.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So you're going to make it very similar to the partner, though there is a different dynamic with the mother being, the grandmother being the mother to this young woman. But the other thing, and this is totally a left turn in this way, is having a phone conversation with your client prior to the prenatal and just say, I want to be clear about your mom being your support person. How did that come to be? Are you comfortable with that? Is there a way that it would be, if it's not comfortable to you, that you would want somebody else? And is this something you want to discuss? Is this even possible for you? Because why is her mother being her support? Obvious reasons we can just pick up without being involved in this is they live together. And the mother assumes that she's going to be the support, or the young woman wants her to, and I don't know how old this person is. She could be 40 living with her parents. I don't know. The woman wants her mom there. Maybe she does, even though they have a stressful relationship. But I might want to know before we hit that prenatal.
To just check in.
Yeah, to check in, to see.
And also to let her know that she is still able to set boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. The boundaries, and that's what, you know, Melanie, you're bringing up a good thing. I think that boundaries have to be discussed as well. You can come in this roundabout way, like I'm talking about, but you can also, if if you see that the grandmother is really being forceful, or, well, I don't know about that. I don't know, childbirth is really painful, and I just don't know whether, and this baby's going to have problems, and I just don't see how this is going to work, is kind of smiling at the grandmother and saying, you know what? I understand that those are worries of yours. But this is her experience. And
that's why it's so important to have that
prior conversation,
initial conversation with your client about if there does need to be boundaries set, what are they, so that you can try to set them together in your prenatal. And so some things that came up for me when you were saying that is actually when you get into the room and sit down with both the grandmother and your client, giving the grandmother kind of the benefit of the doubt of, we're going to be a good team.
Right. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Work that one.
We're going to be a good team. Here, we're a team. I'm here to support you in supporting your daughter. And then maybe before starting and opening up questions and taking turns and talking about things, maybe even saying something where you say, our job for you, client, pregnant woman, is to hold the space for you to labor, and for you to be strong, and for you to be vulnerable, and for you to birth your baby and become
a parent,
a mama, become a mother.
Yes.
And and exactly what you were saying, like look to the grandmother like, right, isn't this what we're going to do for her?
Right, because we want, and I think it's important to use the words that I used earlier, which is we want her to be the best parent she can be. Just like you became the best parent you could be to be her mom, you want that opportunity for her, and that's what we're going to support her to do together. And that's what and here's what I would say also, we're suspending our judgments. We will suspend our own birth experiences as far as how they relate to you. There are no comparisons here. This is your journey, and we're here to support you. And though my job is to support you first and foremost to the client, and then look at the grandmother, like you said, and say, and your job is to support her, and my job is to support you, to support her. But I think it's important also, we're talking nicely, indirectly setting those boundary lines. Like, here's the way it's going to be. And if we talk nice, so much of it is about your demeanor and your choice of words. That grandmother is probably, if she has worries, is going to start to relax, I think, some too. Just like, okay, good. I'm not totally on my own on this one.
And this person, is not adversarial at all.
And not,
this is a team player here.
Exactly. And then
I think it's also important to bring up that there probably will be a hard time in there for, talking about maybe transition, or maybe when the mama is going through a really hard point in labor, that might be really hard for her mother to witness and to see, and to keep supporting her through it, and not bring in whatever her construct around birth is.
Not
just
not
like
quickly just like you would with a partner. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
but it's definitely different with a mother.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that it's the you hope in a relationship when it's a partner that they're on equal partners here. They're working together, and when you're working, no matter what your dynamic is, you are your parent, you are your mother's child.
I've been in this situation before with single women and family members or mothers, or even with couples and the mother is in the room. And many times. And I've had really great, grandmothers in that room where they have been quiet
and steadfast
and very supportive. and brave.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been with mothers who have been crying and praying in the corner.
Oh, or just sitting there with that stricken look on their face and just oh, honey, I'm so sorry you have to go through this. Oh, just terrible. Or to me, some of the worst are just the stricken look. It's just that look of, oh my God, this is just the worst thing. Fear, total fear. So we talk about this in workshops, and we'll talk about it again right here, how important it is that when you're in labor with these people, that you are aware of what emotions are going on.
Yes.
And even the steadfast partner, mother, so we'll just talk about, we should stay on the single. In this case, it's the mother taking care of her daughter. Even if that person is doing a fabulous job, is checking in with them and making sure that they know that there's a safe space for them as well, because they may be holding it together, but this is still nonetheless really hard for them. And it is what you would do for a partner as well, having their back in essence, making sure that they know that you get it. This is really hard for them too. But I think it's really important in this circumstance also just to add in about the baby will be born with a disability. We don't know, Melanie and I, what that means, what has been diagnosed in this baby. We haven't talked to this listener to know that. But that's going to create a whole nother dynamic, I'm sure, as to how this mother may be able to birth to begin with. We don't know if there's going to be restrictions around it being more medicalized. In some cases, it doesn't have to be. In other cases, it depends. So it depends on the care provider and the facility and obviously the disability. But that in itself, I'm sure, is going to heighten this grandmother's way of being comfortable too. She's not only worried about her daughter, she's worried about her grandchild too, and what this means. So you have a bigger picture here. The listener who sent this question. So those are things you do need to be well informed about too. What is the disability? What will the labor and birth and
what
then
does that mean?
And the postpartum look like, the immediate recovery?
Yeah. And so going back to that prenatal meeting with grandmother and client too, I think it's important to say that everyone's role there, and the most important thing is to make sure that this laboring woman feels safe.
Yep.
And to always check back in and read, for both of you, doula and grandmother, check back in with yourself, with the room, reading the energy, reading the room. Is she feeling safe? And that might be a good kind of boundary-ish thing to set. This is what we're going to do. This is about her. Our agendas are left at the door.
Right.
And is she feeling safe? And so, especially with the disability, whatever is happening here with this baby, it's about the mama.
Yeah.
And it's not about the grandmother.
It's not about the grandmother. So when the listener wrote that I feel the obligation to support my client, that is your obligation. Yeah. And you can do that and still keep the peace that you're concerned about as well. And if a situation got to be really intense, where the grandmother is not being as supportive, this is where you were hired to be that support, that safe space around your client. And you do kind of have to step up then and, you might have to take that person aside and just say, I can only imagine that this must be really difficult for you. And I'm not in your shoes, so I can't know. But what I do know is that the two of you are really connected to one another, and that what you feel and what you express and don't even express, your body language, she can pick up on. And right at this moment, she is the most important thing. And I don't want to insult you in any way. I mean, if you feel that's what you might be running if you're looking at her face or her, and she's feeling like, who do you think you are? What she hired me to be here for, to support her, and of course you. So do you need a moment? Do you need a break? If things really got bad, you can always go out and talk to a nurse for a moment, and the nurse that you're working with, and say, look at it. Can you help me in some way? Is there anything you feel like you can do?
Or the provider. I've definitely had a midwife come in and ask for the room to be cleared of family members, which needed to happen.
But were they were those family members just there? Did your client have a partner?
Yes.
Yeah, see, and that makes it a little...
Yes.
So family member, this may be the only family member. That's the other thing to put in here, which is a whole... I think we've talked about this. We might have had a topic about it. If not, we'll do it as well. Other people in the room.
Ooh, yeah.
It's
a big one.
Yeah. So if we'll just stick to that, who's going to be at this specific birth is the mama, the grandmother-to-be, and you. And one thing, though, also, I do want to separate out, your obligation is to your doula client, but you also remember that's what you are, her doula. You're not the fixer of her life. You cannot make her life situation with her parents, her mother, what you wish it could be. You are not there as a fixer. You are there.
Or a therapist.
Right. You are there. You've been invited into a moment of their life. And you walk in with a thoughtfulness and a conscientiousness towards being present for that period of their life. And then your goal is to help them, that woman, be really strong, maybe enhance, if you're lucky, the relationship that they all have together. But your main thing is that this mother-to-be becomes a mother, and that you can gracefully walk out of that relationship when it's over. It's done. It's not your job to fix it. And Melanie and I were talking about this earlier before we went on the air, about situations of just realizing that is the circumstances. And when you work with a single parent, that can be part of the issue as well. So let's also talk.
ToRAISE has really good advice about this.
It always sounds mean, though, but I'm a really nice person. I really am, right, Melanie?
You are really nice.
Okay.
And very wise.
You didn't say it right away. Okay. So let's, though, talk in general about if you have a single, say somebody calls you and says, I would love to have a doula. I feel I really need a doula because I don't have a partner. I'm on my own. I have family support, but I really don't want any of my family or friends to be there. I want a doula. So have you had experience with this?
I have.
So how did you handle being doula and with a single mom-to-be, with a single client?
In most of the cases that I have been the doula for a single parent, there have been either a family member or another friend involved.
Okay.
I have been the partner to a single mom who is a friend, and that was a very different role than being a doula. And
it's interesting. Oh, but you were her friend already,
yes.
And then you acted
Personal
as a doula.
Friend.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was not her doula, I was the partner.
Okay. And then, okay. So, because I want to clarify that, so before we go to the other circumstance, and I've said this, I'm sure, also many times, but if you are working with a single parent and they do not have a partner or someone period, you are not their partner. You are their doula. And it is really important that you keep those roles separate, that you cannot, as a doula, fill the role of being a partner. because you're not going to raise this child with this person after the birth.
Except for my case.
Well, yeah, but see, I'm going to clarify your case because you said, and that's what I was just going to say, you were her friend at that birth, and she had support other than you during that birth. From her care provider. Yeah, who was an excellent care provider. Right. So that's what, made a difference. She had an excellent midwife. Yes. Who is what we try to emulate. She isn't your typical midwife. She is a doula wrapped up into a midwife extraordinaire. Yes. So, but if you had... But it was a very different role than being a doula. Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because it's really, really hard. Like I had a family member who was a single mom, and I came to support her during her labor. And, but she also had a friend there to support her. It was very, very hard for me because I really was supposed to be her doula. And her friend was supposed to be her friend. But she was my sister. So it was hard to be separate from her because she was my sister. Yeah. But I did it, and she didn't always like me also during it because I was being the doula, not her sister. And she was older than me and used to telling me what to do. And push me around. So it is a different kind of role too. But so you... And I've been a doula for friends. Right. With their partner. Right. And that was a very different role. Yeah. But let's talk about... Go back to single parents. So the single parent role usually a doula will find herself in with is that they are working with a single parent to be, and that parent, your client usually has a family or a friend who they plan to have there as their support as well. Yes. And I will say it's challenging to set your own boundaries as a doula in that circumstance, because sometimes they don't feel, they don't have that partner. Even if they have a family member or a parent that's going to be their said partner, they don't have that relationship of intimacy. Right. We create that. And so they will try to create that with you, the doula. And that can really be very time intensive. And that's my whole point. And I think it's years of learning about this, trial and error, and still going from my heart and going from my business and going from my heart and combining the two. But I have learned how, my dad used to tell me, I remember my dad telling me a lifetime ago, I was telling him some story about somebody, and his response in essence was, it's their problem, not yours. And I thought, what a jerk. And it was such really good input, though he didn't say it in a negative way. It was reminding myself that it isn't my problem. It is their problem, and that I am there to support somebody. And he taught us detachment with love when there was, dysfunctional relationships. You could love somebody, you could care for somebody, but you could have detachment. And that's what I think the role of a doula is. You have the ability to really care about somebody, but you have to keep that detachment. And if we are going to be good doulas to our clients, no matter what their circumstances, but I always say, especially when it's a single parent to be, is you want them to be not dependent on you or empowered. Because you are not going to be there to raise that child. And this is then going to sound selfish, but it's really important selfishness. Selfishness can be really healthy and is healthy in many ways. Is you have to move on in your life. You cannot carry everybody that you work with for the rest of your life. It will take you down. And it will not serve you well in your own personal life. It will just become too much. And so that is the problem we have with any client we work with, because just because they have a partner doesn't mean that they're not needy. But, with a single person, often we do find ourselves in that, I know of a situation that I have encountered where the woman is very, very needy. And people now are acknowledging how needy she is, and which is sad because it's not going to give her the support that she needs. The needier she gets, the less people want to be around her, to support her. But what they're learning is they have to have boundary lines around her, that she will just, she's in a desperate situation, and it's terrible that you're in a desperate situation.
Yeah.
But that's where the role of a doula is resources also.
Resources, refer.
Right. Yeah. Who are the people who are professionals, who not just lay the burden on another friend of yours or somebody else and say, here, why don't you, maybe you could help talk to her.
Yeah.
Because that person is somebody who might attach. So it's looking for professional resources, support group areas that they can go to.
And I think it's important to also talk about trusting their gut, trusting their intuition, and building that idea for them that they know and they do have the answers, and that they will know what feels right and what feels wrong. And that sets them up to feel like a good mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the whole point of that is, so let me, when you have had a client who had a friend or a mother or family member who was going to support them, did you meet with those people beforehand?
I did.
Yeah.
Every time.
Good. And
I do 2 prenatal visits usually, and I would have the first prenatal visit alone with the client, and then the second prenatal visit with whoever else was going to be on her support team.
And I assume, just like we talked about a little bit ago, you clarify that who they're having is the right person for them, right?
Yeah, and that's what we really go over in the first visit.
I think the hard part for a lot of single clients that we have, not all by any means, but many of them are younger and maybe under the umbrella still of their parent or parents, and that can make it really, really hard at times. I mean, I have worked with some single moms who had, situations where if they were going to be pregnant on their own, they were in the best situation because they had a loving, caring family who said, we're in this with you, we'll support you, we'll help you. But not always is that the case. I mean, they're willing to support her, but they're really angry at her for finding herself pregnant.
Right.
And that's a really sticky situation. Again, it goes back to just addressing what we already said at the very, very beginning, is coming to the core.
Well, and being a doula, there are so many skill sets that you really have got to have. And I think the number one skill set that a successful doula has is being able to read the room.
I know.
And diffuse a potential tense situation and make everyone feel comfortable and put everybody at ease.
I think you're so right. And I sit in rooms all the time with people, all the time.
Well,
And
I just have to say, you're so funny, because I had ToRAISE teach a class for me last week because I was at a birth, and it was a 1-day workshop, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell the story without even telling you when to tell it. And she said, it's really hard for me that first day at a workshop because no one knows each other yet, and so it's difficult to make everyone feel at ease and make people feel comfortable. And I just looked at her and was like, what? It's difficult for you? You make it look so easy.
Oh, that's so weird.
So easy.
I'm so glad to hear that. Well, and I am a good read of a room, and I will sit in a room many times with people, some of which, I'll be honest, through the years, are people in workshops, and they are clueless to what is happening in the room. They're benign. They have blinders on. They're not aware of what they said might have had an impact, or what. And this isn't just in workshops, but it's in other circumstances. And I think not a great. If it's in a workshop, I think you got to work on that, because you are absolutely right, Melanie. So much of it is being very present while you're at that birth, so that you can have the awareness of what is going on. It's not about you. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? That's part of it. It's what is happening with her? What is happening with them? Are they doing okay? Was those words okay that they just said? Because that may have really had a negative impact. Or let's reframe how this is all going down right now. So, and that is the role of a doula, is that orchestrating. It's what, I talk about it being choreographing and orchestrating and facilitating the environment, because the environment is going to dictate how a lot of the labor is going to play out. So what about if you're working with a client, we talked about this one-on-one, who has a situation where that, and this, we'll say it's the single parent, but it could be their own partner, but let's just say it's a single parent, where now all of a sudden the friend or the family member who's doing the support is really kind of out of hand. Have you ever had that situation?
Yeah.
And so how did you handle that?
It's definitely tough, and it has definitely come up. Just having a partner who might be more stressed out about the plan. They might be on two totally different pages with what they want out of this birth. Or they might have a history and they are worried about things happening in the birth. They're scared about how they might be in the birth. And I think that is when I'm trying to really put myself back in that place. I think I really listen. And I'm going to go back to that line, that hold the space for them in the moment, and listen and try to really hear what's going on, and just help them both navigate what feelings are being shared in that moment. So again, you're not a therapist,
right?
Though, which is so hard, because you are put in that role.
I know.
And I know I've even said the words, I'm not a therapist.
Yeah, I say it so that I think to myself somehow I'm going to need a therapist.
Right.
But
right. I'll be talking about you with my therapist.
Yes, but I'm not your counselor. Right.
But I think it's important to give both people in that situation weight, their feelings weight, and they both are valid, but always going back to that pregnant woman.
And don't you think so much of this, though, is about the prenatal period of time?
Oh my gosh, that's where it happens.
Well, yeah, it's why it's so important that you have time to spend with not only your client one-on-one, but also with the client's partner, whoever that is, because you do want to be able to hear what their worries and their fears are, and what their past, and helping them, like going to that class that you said that I taught. One of the things I was talking to those parents about, and in this case they all had partners there, was that she might reach a place in the labor where she is just totally like, I can't do this, and you will be like, okay, let's just do whatever you need to be done. And you can't be in that place. You have to help her come back into that. You have to remove yourself from it.
And you have to remember what pre-laboring woman sounded like
right.
and what her goals were.
And also understanding when it is really what she wants. Mm-hmm. And when it really isn't what she wants. But then I said to these couples, you all should have a doula, though, absolutely, so that they will help you negotiate that as well. Yeah. So anything else about a single parent that you want to bring up?
I think just going back to you are her client.
Yep.
I think that is the most important piece of this whole thing. You are her client. No. She is your client.
Right.
You are her doula. You are there for her. And you are there to read the room and facilitate everyone else's behavior in that room. And if you need, I loved what you said about reframing things. Mm-hmm. If someone says something and you think, ooh, that might reframe it into a more positive, calmer, softer approach.
And prenatally discussing these things. And if in the listener's case with the question, if they are going to have the grandmother to be there, really making that person understand what your role is going to be, what their role is going to be, and helping this woman who is going to birth become a parent, and probably a pre-conversation on the telephone with that client to say, what are your concerns about your mom being at the labor? I mean, you expressed some things in the interview. I just want to be clear, since we are going to be meeting together, or do you think we should have our first prenatal visit separate and we can just go over these things? Or do you want to have both with your mom and you so that you can have time to work on these things together? I mean, help them dictate it perhaps as well.
And I do also want to bring up the postpartum phase.
Yeah.
How important that parent's role is going to be in the postpartum phase. And that's really where they can kind of shine.
Right.
Of this is what our goal is here for her to be lying in for at least 7 days and really taking it easy. I had a prenatal with a single woman who her relationship dissolved while she was pregnant. And the father of the baby was not very well liked by anybody in the family. And both of her parents were going to be attending the birth, and met with them at the second appointment. And they were both a little skeptical, and everyone was kind of nervous, and sat down and we started talking about, when are you going to call me, and what does this look like? And got to the postpartum phase and said, my goal for you with postpartum is that there is no drama. Mm-hmm. And both of her parents just started clapping. And that was like the icebreaker. And they were like, oh, thank God. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's get it out there. Mm-hmm. And so really talking about what that postpartum period looks like for a single mom too, because then the baby is here. And depending on where the partner, where the baby's other parent is that other parent going to be introduced to the baby? Right. What's going on there? Because that can be very dramatic.
Right.
And for a woman who's in a healthy relationship, that postpartum phase can be really hard.
Yeah.
So,
well, that is, and then also going forward with that, which we'll talk about at another time, but is the role of the parent also in their support of, again, taking care of your client, but that the role of the client is to take care of their own baby.
Yeah.
Not to step in.
No one needs to hold your baby for you.
Yeah. No, except if you have to go take a shower or, something you need to rest for a little while, but that's not their job. Their job is to take care of, but that's a whole nother topic that we have talked about. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it for right now. There's other topics that always come up out of these conversations, so we make notes of that. But I hope that helps some to the questioner and also to others.
And if any of you have comments you'd like to make or further questions or stories, please post them on our Facebook page. We want to hear from you. And stay tuned for our tip. we're back with a tip. And Therese?
So I want to share a tip that I will give credit to Courtney Grabowski in Michigan, who is a midwife and a childbirth educator and a very wonderful woman. She was sharing that when a woman is in labor, especially when she's feeling really it might be during transition, it might just be a time where she's just feeling anxious. She's kind of that back and forth kind of whatever. You can see the anxiety. It could be pacing. She will go and try and center them. And how she does that is she will take so I'll say it for everyone. You would take your less dominant hand and place it on the back of their neck, and then place your dominant hand on their forehead, and then apply the same amount of pressure. You know, you're not squeezing, you're just creating some pressure on the neck and the head. And it just helps somebody relax. It brings them back into the body. And women...
Therese did it to me, and it felt really good.
Yeah, and you weren't in labor.
No.
And women, when Courtney was sharing this with me, there were a couple women around at the moment who had been her clients and during labor, and they said she had done that, and it felt really good. Like it just put them back in the body. So just a little tip.
I saw this done on in the 3 R's, the Penny Simkin movie.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a woman that is, I think she's sitting on a birthing stool. Her partner is kind of breathing in front of her, which he's kind of blowing on her face, which always makes me think like, oh, please don't do that. But Penny Simkin is doing this move on her. So,
yeah. So just our little tip.